Guys, Seaport 1321. I'm going to do an equipment update here since I haven't for a while and I don't even remember when I left off. So, today, which is a Sunday, my friend Derek and I went to the Wheaton Train Show in Wheaton, Illinois at the DuPage County Fairgrounds. And it worked out so perfect for me because this was the first weekend that I've had off since I started working back in September. So that was a lot of fun. And, the show was a lot bigger than I expected. We walked in there, admission was $7, and there's just this one building. I'm like, all right, there's a lot going on here, but I don't know if it's $7 worth. We get through that one. My friend's like, all right, well, we got 4 more buildings to check out. I'm like, holy crap. So, yeah, since I haven't had an update in a long time, I'm going to show you some equipment that I have received since then, just to catch everyone back up that actually cares. So, I'm going to start with the first two. So, there's a story behind both these locomotives. One is an Athearn ready-to-roll Canadian Pacific SW1500, and the other is a Union Pacific Athearn Genesis SD70 Ace. Now, I'm going to say that I did get both of these locomotives for free. Lucky me, right? Yeah, I know, they're pretty sweet, and I like to run them a lot. And that especially goes well with my CP Jeep 40X, and that especially goes well with my CITX SD70M-2. So it's a happy world. Now, the story behind this one. My friend is kind of a dumbass. No offense to when you watch this video, but thank you anyways. You'll understand the humor. Well, this locomotive had a sad life. It was he got this at Trainfest, and it was really he really didn't take care of it. Just saying, and he knows that, so I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It caught on fire, and it smells like raging anus. Still, he replaced the board, and then this thing fell off, and it was glued on by an autistic 4-year-old, because there's like 8 or 9 gallons of glue there. The windows are gone. So yeah, it works somehow. Somehow. I emphasize somehow very much. This one, he got, but apparently forgot that he did not like Union Pacific. So he's like, okay, here, you can have it. So I'm like, oh hell yeah. So it was technically a Christmas present. So, thank you very much to you. So yeah, that's just luck of me, I suppose. Then, for this train show, I didn't have a whole lot of spending money with me because I was gone all over spring break, because my mom had a spontaneous idea to let's go to Missouri/Arkansas. So I was in the middle of fuck off nowhere for a week, not getting paid because I wasn't working. So, yeah, I did not have a lot of money with me. However, on my way out to the middle of nowhere, we were stopped at an antique store, and there was like this hobby shop inside of the antique store. So I'm like, okay, let's see what they got. And so I was going through all these boxes because he just got a big collection, and it turns out he had a freaking Athearn ready-to-roll in there. I'm like, oh, how much for this one? He's like, oh, yeah, it's a nice one. It's got windows and Katie couplers, which those are clearly McHenry's, but, we can't see. So he wanted $35. I told him I had $25 cash. Other than that, all I had was my card, and I didn't know that they took a card. So he took $25 for it. It works fine. Bulbs work, and it's a great addition to my switcher fleet. And then this is going back even farther. This was a Paycheck back in January. One of my friends wanted me to buy this for him on eBay, but then he backed out, and I didn't really care because I wanted to get some Wisconsin Southern Power myself. So I got this. It was used, but I got it for $65, and there's nothing wrong with it. I love the beacon. It runs well, cosmetically and mechanically. It's perfect. And I put a custom S5T on there. I'm going to try to focus it, which matches the rest of the locomotive, thankfully. I think it looks good, and it just doesn't care to focus at the moment right now, even though it should. So that's it, if you can see it, which for some reason it just doesn't want to go. There it is. Looks really good. Not like a huge fan of where it's located, but it matches perfectly. And I guess as far as horns go, I'm really into brass horns. And this is a truck right here full of brass horns. I like brass horns. A lot of these are these stupid fake horns that aren't even real horns that come on the stock Athearn locomotives. I hate these so much. But, a lot of the stuff, and some of these that I've not had until recently, like here's a all-bell forward S5T. Just the amount of detail on these is insane. Here's an RS3L on a high manifold. Another S5T, S3J, another fake horn that doesn't exist that Athearn likes to use because they're cheap. The nicest horn I think that Athearn uses on a stock model is this P3. It's very realistic and it looks good on almost anything. RS5T RRO, RS5T RF, another RS5T, K5, P3, M3, P5. Finally got a P5. Looks good. Really, really good. P5 R15, it looks like, even though it's supposed to be an R24. But the biggest bell's reversed. So, really into brass horns and switching around horns on my locomotives to make them prototypical. So that's kind of a really nice thing to add detail. So now that I'm off that topic, I'm going to go to what I got at the train show. After I already walked through two of the buildings, I hadn't gotten anything, and I came upon this table where the guy was setting up stuff, and he had this Walthers car. I'm like, oh, how much for this? He's like, yeah, $5. I'm like, all right, $5, that's cool. So I got it. Next two were from the same table. The guy had that as 14 and that as 12, and I asked him if he would take 20, but he couldn't do 20, so I said, and he's like, all right, I'll do 23. So I'm like, okay. So that's a ready to roll. That's a gold line high cube, and yeah. And then I got one locomotive, and there's a fun story behind it. I was going through, and it was one of the first things that I saw, but I didn't have a whole lot of money, like I said. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll keep looking. So I went through all 5 buildings, and I found some nice stuff, but nothing else truly caught my eye for what it was and the price that went with it. So I came back, and thankfully it was still there. And so I'm talking to him, and it was listed as $35. And I'm like, all right, so it's not bad. So I'm like, all right, well, before I buy it, I want to make sure it works. So I went down to the test track, and it ran, but the only flaw was that the lights didn't work. So I came back and like, all right, there's one problem. It works fine, but the lights don't work. He's like, oh, the lights don't work. I'm sorry about that. I'm like, yeah. So, he's like, how about 25? I'm like, well, I got 23 because I still had the 23 from the last time. So $23 for an Athearn ready to roll CF7. Yeah, very cool. And I love the A200 horn combination. So that's cool. I'll keep the one reversed, definitely. The front one, I'll probably put maybe, I'll see what a K5 looks on there. I'll see what a P3 looks on there. I'll see what a Leslie looks up there. I don't know. I was kind of thinking I have one K5 that has, there's K3s of all sorts that make you happy. I have one K5 if I can find it real quick. Here it is. It's got it's an R25 as opposed to the more common R24. I think that'll look good on there. But it has one horn reverse, so I might go with something above board. I don't know. But I'm going to wrap it up now. Very cool.